One of the things I promised when I first started this podcast is that I was going to be bringing on guests to interview and to share their perspective, their experience, something different from what I know. And I'm so excited today to be welcoming my first guest. Stephanie Strings is based in the Washington, D.C. area. She has been performing for many years and performs exclusively as a solo violinist. She has a wealth of knowledge because, like me, she has built her own roadmap. She has figured this out from scratch, and she is now super successful, and she has earned the trust of her clients in a really beautiful way. And I want to highlight that today as we speak, and I want her to share her perspective on how she does things, how she runs her business, and some of the common challenges that we all face. Are you a classically trained violinist dreaming of stepping out of the orchestra and into the spotlight, but maybe the world of solo gigs feels intimidating? You're not alone. Welcome to The Glam Violinist, the podcast that empowers classically trained musicians to build thriving careers as sought-after entertainers. I'm your host, Celeste V, and each week we'll break down the secrets to getting the gigs you've been dreaming of. Get ready to unleash your inner rock star and turn your passion into a paycheck. Let's get glamorous. So, without further ado, I am super excited to welcome Stephanie. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, hey, I'm so excited and super honored to be here. I mean, you're killing it. Like, everything that I've heard so far is just incredible advice. Like, you're just awesome. Yeah, so a little bit about me. I have had an interesting music career. I studied viola performance. I was a violist in college, but I also was like a singer-songwriter, and I was doing that for a long time. So I've been in this kind of music industry for a really long time. But I picked up the electric violin in 2017. It was actually part of like my singer-songwriter thing. And I had been doing like string quartets where we were doing modern songs as a string quartet. And I'm like, I love this. And I was like, oh, I could just play the music that I've been listening to on the radio that I really like. And so I started posting covers. And, someone had recommended that I get started on Gig Salad. And I started posting videos on Gig Salad and use a lot of the skills that I've learned in my many past 9 lives that I've had to, market myself as a performer. And here I am today. And something that I've really honed on in recent years is identifying with the multicultural aspect of it. I realized that that's kind of where I've been finding my passion recently as an electric violinist is, learning the Bollywood music. Like I know that you've been someone that I've asked about Bollywood music a lot when I was starting to be like, hey, I learned a few Bollywood songs randomly for this one client and I really like it. How can I do more? And then, also just different cultures, even, Arabic music or even R&B or movie themes. Just like when I find something that like identifies with the person's culture or with something that's meaningful to them, like that's when I really like all the cells in my brain light up. Just makes me happy. So
that's such a great feeling. I feel some days like we have the coolest job in the world. We literally get to make people's dreams come true. Many clients grow up with this dream of having a violinist at their event. And so to be able to make that actually come to life is sort of idyllic. Like it really is a dream job in a way. Of course, they don't see everything that goes in behind the scenes. They don't see all the hard work and the tears and the frustration and the cost and the everything else. All they see is that perfect day of that moment. They're walking down the aisle or whatever. And that's what we're doing. And I love that you embrace that. And it has to feed your soul in a way, or else you just can't keep going through the hard times.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it completely. I think as musicians, sometimes we feel it more deeply because music is something so emotional and so sentimental that when, we struggle, we take it more personally, but it's so worth it when we just, bring that dream to them and we realize that we're doing our own dream, like doing something we love and making people happy doing it. That's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And creating the opportunity for other violinists to live that same dream is what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, I mean, your advice is insane.
Oh, I wish, these are all the things I wish somebody had told me when I was getting started,
I mean, I'm taking notes, as I listen to it. Great.
So I know you're also a mom and a wife, and you're involved in lots of other things and volunteering and just like so many things. I'm wondering, I know I struggle to do it all and I don't even have kids. How on earth do you do all the parts of this business? What is your typical day like? How do you fit it all in? How do you portion things out so that you can keep your sanity and still get the most important things done?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. I mean, I think some days I get to spend more time with my family, other days, or I'm at my house. Other days I'm spending it entirely or almost entirely on work. A lot of times, yes, my typical day does involve me like, okay, I've just dropped off the kids at school and now I am, coming home and now I'm posting my social media. Okay, I'm going to go run a load of dishes and then I'm going to go do a consultation call. So, I mean, I do like that. Actually, I like, my time in my house by myself, doing those things. And sometimes I'm like creating a contract while my kid is literally like climbed onto my shoulders, so, but, I do kind of really like that. Or I take my son to the playground. I love he's like old enough where I can be like, go play on the slide. I'm going to be over here, creating a playlist or something.
I'm also curious, do you block off time for certain tasks or are you more organic? Do you have blocks of time, for example, that clients can book calls, or how do you manage your scheduling?
That's a great question. Well, when I first started, I would be the person who would just as soon as I got a lead, I would call them immediately because I was trying to be the first one and all of that. And it was very helpful. So I would say to people starting out, it helped me a lot. But now that, I'm getting more business and I am just busier, I schedule time now where I can be office hours, basically, where my clients can schedule a consultation call. A lot of things I do organically where I do want to respond quickly, on social media or to leads. If I can do so without a phone call, I try to respond as quickly as possible.
So I know that as musicians, there's a lot that goes on that we have to figure out logistically and musically and everything else. But something that we don't talk about a lot is the emotional and the mental health part of running this type of business. So I'm really curious. I know we've talked about this before, you and I, but what is your biggest mental challenge, and what helps you when you're really struggling with that, when you're having one of those days?
I mean, there are, like you said, there are so many mental challenges. I don't know what would even be the biggest one, but one that really came to mind that I feel like a lot of us struggle with is self-doubt. And I think that we do take things really personally because we put so much emotion and love into our passion. And we have to face a lot of rejection. Sometimes our quotes get rejected, or our content doesn't get as many views as we hoped, or we see somebody doing things amazingly and we see our flaws under a microscope and we see other people's strengths and we just wish we could, be like them, or we feel threatened somehow. And it's really important to know that we're doing better than we think and to not give up and to believe in ourselves. Another aspect I think of the business is things sometimes they don't go perfectly, or they'll go real wrong, and we might take some of these things to our grave. We don't want to tell anyone about our struggle. That's why I love being friends with you, because oh man, you get it. But there was one time where I got into a car accident arriving to a gig, and that traumatized me so badly. And I kept thinking, should I quit? Because I'm I put my life in danger. I was just freaking out. I was all in my head. And so I was what if I did something that, what if I just quit the violin and maybe I'll just become a grocery bagger? That's safe, right? That's what on April Fool's Day. I posted, this week I posted, Stephanie quits the violin to become a grocery bagger, because I literally had that thought. I'm glad that I didn't follow through with it. But what does help me get through those moments of self-doubt is my husband's response when I told him this, and he goes, this is who you are. You are a musician. Don't quit. You can't quit. This is who you are. And I sort of rephrased it as, this is what I love. And so I love to play the violin, and I love it even if things go wrong. And I think that's what's made people be so successful, because the most famous people get so much hate, or they'll have the biggest challenges, but they love it so much that they keep doing it. And so as long as if we really love this, business, then we're going to keep doing it and we're going to keep getting up and we're not going to listen to the voices of self-doubt. So I think something that that I'd also like to mention is like the quote, because sometimes it can be really discouraging if a client doesn't accept our quote, and I think it's really important to keep a positive attitude and even be respectful in our response to them, because when we put good energy out into the universe, I think that it benefits us and it keeps our attitude positive, instead of saying, oh, well, why didn't you accept my quote? Well, maybe we're not the right fit for them, and that's okay, right? So I think that it's just really important to, instead of focusing on the times that we've been rejected, or to focus on the times that things go well. I think the more that you do this business and the more successes that you see, the more you can believe in yourself. And so it's okay because I've done such and such great things and I've accomplished these things that I never thought that I would be able to accomplish. And that is what has motivated me to keep going, because, hey, I've done this. I never thought I'd get this far. So let's keep going and see what I can accomplish.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Yes, self-doubt is so real. I did a whole podcast on imposter syndrome because I know this is something that I've dealt with. Everybody I've ever talked to deals with it. Even the people who are the most successful, they still feel like they're, not as good as so-and-so, or they shouldn't be as successful as they are because they have this flaw or this, whatever. It's crazy how much we can not belittle ourselves, but just not fully embrace our value. I think staying positive is really important, because letting all the bad mojo in just does not help anyone. It doesn't hurt anyone but yourself. And it's like, you got to move on quickly when those things happen. So thank you for sharing that. I think I'm going to wrap it up here because, oh my gosh, I have so many more questions. So we're going to definitely have to do this again in like maybe a month or so. Thank you so much for being transparent and for sharing some of your experience and what you've gleaned from all of your years of hard work. There are so many people out there who are just getting started, and there's a lot of mistakes we can help them to avoid. And that's what this is all about. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who's listening right now. We really appreciate you tuning into this podcast, The Glam Violinist. Today, my guest is here, Stephanie Strings. We've really enjoyed hearing her perspective on things. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go and subscribe, share it with your musician friends, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Until next time, this is Celeste reminding you to stay glamorous.